I spent 19 years treating my daughter like a burden because she was unplanned. I gave her room to my son's girlfriend, made her sleep in the living room, then sold her car when she complained. She left a voicemail saying she's done being my mistake. I still listen to it every night. I sold my daughter's car because she complained about sleeping on an air mattress in the living room. I want you to read that sentence again. I want you to understand exactly what kind of mother I was. I took the one thing my daughter had worked for, the one thing that gave her freedom, and I sold it out of spite. Because she had the audacity to be upset that I gave her bedroom to my son's girlfriend. My daughter was 19 years old. She'd saved for that car since she was 15, working weekends at a grocery store, picking up extra shifts during summers, skipping movies and dinners with friends so she could put another $50 in her savings account. It took her 4 years. 4 years of sacrifice for a used Honda Civic that was worth maybe $8,000. I sold it for $6,000 and kept the money. And I told myself she deserved it. I'm writing this because I can't sleep anymore. Because every time I close my eyes, I see her face when I handed her the bill of sale. I see the moment she realized I was capable of something that cruel. I see her walking out my front door with a backpack and nothing else, and I see myself letting her go. I need to tell someone what I did. Not for forgiveness. I don't deserve that. But because maybe if I say it out loud, if I write it down where strangers can judge me, I'll finally understand how I became this person. My daughter's name is Emma. She was born when I was 22, unmarried, unprepared, and terrified. Her father left before she was born. Just packed a bag and disappeared, left me with a positive pregnancy test and a lease I couldn't afford alone. I should have loved her more because of that. I should have looked at her and seen resilience, survival, proof that I could handle anything. Instead, I looked at her and saw my biggest mistake. I know how horrible that sounds. I know what you're thinking right now. But I need you to understand the headspace I was in, even if it doesn't excuse anything. Because I told myself this story for 19 years, and I believed it. Emma was the reason I couldn't finish college. Emma was the reason I couldn't date, couldn't travel, couldn't have the life I'd imagined for myself. Every sacrifice I made, every opportunity I missed, I blamed on her existence. Not consciously. Not out loud. But in the back of my mind, there was always this whisper, your life would be better if she'd never been born. She felt it. Kids always feel it, even when you think you're hiding it. When Emma was 4, I met Richard. He was kind, stable, successful. Everything her father wasn't. We got married when she was 6, and a year later, I had my son. My planned son. My wanted son. My fresh start. His name is Brandon. From the moment he was born, I treated them differently. I told myself I didn't. I told myself I loved them equally. But looking back, the evidence was everywhere. Brandon got the bigger bedroom. Brandon got the newer clothes. Brandon got my attention, my patience, my pride. When he brought home a B, I told him he'd do better next time. When Emma brought home a B, I asked her why it wasn't an A. Brandon was my second chance. Emma was my reminder of everything that went wrong. She tried so hard to earn my love. That's the part that haunts me now. She didn't rebel. She didn't act out. She just kept trying. Perfect grades. Clean room. Never asked for anything. She made herself small and quiet and invisible, hoping that if she was good enough, I'd finally see her. I didn't. When Emma turned 18, she started talking about moving out. College, maybe. Or just getting an apartment with friends. I should have encouraged her. I should have helped her plan, offered to co-sign a lease, done what parents do when their children grow up. Instead, I told her she couldn't afford it. I told her she wasn't ready. I told her she needed to stay home and contribute to the household before she could think about leaving. What I meant was, I need someone to do the chores I don't want to do. What I meant was, I need someone to blame when things go wrong. What I meant was, if you leave, I'll have to face what I did to you. So she stayed. She got a job at a call center, started paying me $300 a month in rent, and did most of the cooking and cleaning while Brandon played video games in his room. I told myself this was teaching her responsibility. I was using her. Then Brandon got a girlfriend. Her name was Megan. She was 21, blonde, bubbly, everything I wished Emma was. She laughed at my jokes. She complimented my cooking. She made Brandon happy in a way I could see and measure and brag about to my friends. When Brandon told me Megan's lease was ending and she needed a place to stay, I didn't hesitate. She can move in, I said. She can stay in Emma's room. Brandon looked confused. Where's Emma gonna sleep? The living room. We have that air mattress from camping. I said it like it was obvious. Like it was reasonable. Like my daughter sleeping on an air mattress in a common area with no privacy, no door, no space of her own, was a perfectly acceptable solution so that my son's girlfriend of 8 months could have a proper bedroom. Megan was watching us. Brandon had come downstairs at the sound of raised voices. Everyone was looking at Emma like she was the problem. She wasn't the problem. She was never the problem. I pay you rent, Emma said. Her voice was shaking. I pay for my own food. I clean this house. I do everything you ask. And you gave my room to someone who's been dating Brandon for less than a year. How is that fair? I put down the spatula. Fair? You want to talk about fair? Let me tell you what's not fair. Having to raise a child alone at 22. Giving up my dreams because you existed. Spending 19 years sacrificing everything for someone who does nothing but complain. The words came out like venom. Like I'd been saving them for years. And maybe I had. Emma's face went white. That's how you see me? Her voice was barely a whisper. As a burden? As a mistake? I should have stopped. I should have apologized. I should have realized I'd just said the thing she'd always feared, the thing she'd spent her whole life trying to disprove. Instead, I doubled down. If you don't like how things work in this house, you can leave. But if you're staying, you'll pay your share. Full rent? $500 a month. Plus groceries. Plus utilities. That's what adults do, Emma. They contribute. I already contribute. Not enough. Not nearly enough for the attitude you're giving me. She stared at me. Then at Brandon, who looked away. Then at Megan, who was suddenly very interested in her phone. No one defended her. No one ever defended her. Fine, Emma said. I'll leave. I'll figure it out. Good luck with that. You can't afford an apartment in this city. You'll be back in a week. She walked out of the kitchen. I heard her go to the living room, start packing the few things she had left. I went back to making pancakes. Brandon cleared his throat. Mom, don't you think that was a little? A little what? He looked at Megan. Megan shook her head slightly. Never mind, he said. Emma left that afternoon. She had her backpack, a suitcase, and her car. The car she'd worked 4 years to buy. The only thing in her life that was truly hers. I let her go without saying goodbye. 3 days later, I realized she hadn't paid that month's rent. The $500 I demanded during our fight. She'd left without paying. I was furious. I called her phone. No answer. I texted her. No response. I told myself she was being petty, vindictive, trying to punish me for standing my ground. It never occurred to me that she might not have the money. That she might be sleeping in her car. That she might be terrified, alone, and wondering how her own mother could hate her so much. I reported her car stolen. Not because I thought it was actually stolen. But because the car was technically in my name. I'd co-signed when she bought it because she didn't have enough credit history. I'd always held that over her head, reminded her that I could take it back anytime. Now I did. The police found her a week later, parked behind a Walmart 2 towns over. They towed the car. They called me to pick it up. I sold it the next day. $6,000, cash. I told myself it was repayment for all the years I'd spent supporting her. I told myself she owed me more than that car was worth. I told myself I was teaching her a lesson about consequences. I didn't tell her I'd sold it. She found out when she called the impound lot to try to get it back. Her voicemail to me that night was 3 minutes long. She didn't yell. She didn't curse. She just cried. She said she was sleeping on a coworker's couch. She said she'd lost her job because she couldn't get to work without her car. She said she didn't understand how I could do this to her. She said she was done. I spent my whole life trying to make you love me, she said. And I finally understand that you never will. I'm not your daughter anymore. I'm just the mistake you've been punishing for 19 years. So I'm done. Don't call me. Don't text me. Don't try to find me. I never want to see you again. The voicemail ended. I saved it. I still have it on my phone. Sometimes, late at night, I listen to it just to remind myself what I did. She never contacted me again. The silence lasted longer than I expected. 1 week without hearing from Emma. Then 2. Then a month. I kept waiting for her to call, to apologize, to admit she'd overreacted and ask if she could come home. She never did. I told myself it was her fault. She was stubborn. She was dramatic. She'd realize eventually that she couldn't survive without me, and she'd come crawling back. But the weeks turned into months, and the silence grew heavier. I started asking around. Casual questions to people who might know something. Her old coworkers. Friends from high school. Anyone who might have heard where she was. Nobody would tell me anything. It took me 3 months to realize they weren't keeping secrets from me. They were protecting her from me. Her friends, her former coworkers, even distant relatives I barely spoke to. They all knew what I'd done. They'd all picked a side. And nobody picked mine. My sister called me in February, 4 months after Emma left. "I need to tell you something," she said. "And you're not going to like it." "What?" "Emma's been staying with me." My blood went cold. "What?" "She showed up at my door the night you sold her car. She had nothing. No money. No job. No place to go. She was a mess, Karen. A complete mess. She told me everything. She told you her version. She showed me the texts. The voicemails. The messages where you called her ungrateful and demanded money she didn't have. She showed me photos of that air mattress in your living room. She told me about the years of being treated like she didn't belong in her own family." My sister paused. "I believe her. She's manipulating you. She's always been dramatic." "Stop." My sister's voice was sharp. "Just stop. I've watched you treat that girl like an inconvenience her whole life. I never said anything because I didn't think it was my place. But this? Selling her car? Kicking her out so your son's girlfriend could have her room? That's not discipline, Karen. That's cruelty. I was teaching her. You were punishing her for existing. And now you've lost her. Forever. She's not coming back. She told me to tell you that." I started crying. "Please, just let me talk to her." "No. She doesn't want to see you. She doesn't want to hear from you. She asked me to tell you to stop trying to contact her, or she'll get a restraining order." "A restraining order? Against her own mother?" "Against the woman who stole her car, kicked her out of her home, and spent 19 years making her feel worthless. Yes. Against that woman." She hung up. I sat in my kitchen for an hour, unable to move. A restraining order. My own daughter was threatening legal action to keep me away from her. Like I was dangerous. Like I was someone she needed protection from. I called my sister back a dozen times. She didn't answer. I drove to her house the next weekend. She wouldn't open the door. "Go home, Karen," she said through the intercom. "Emma's not here. And even if she was, I wouldn't let you anywhere near her. She's my daughter." "Then you should have treated her like one." The social consequences came next. Word spreads in families. Within weeks, everyone knew. My mother called me, disappointment heavy in her voice. My cousins stopped inviting me to gatherings. My aunt, who I'd always been close to, sent me a long email about how she'd seen the signs for years and should have said something sooner. "Emma was always so quiet around you," she wrote. "So careful. So anxious. Children don't behave that way around parents who love them. They behave that way around parents they're afraid of." I wanted to argue. I wanted to defend myself. But every defense I tried to mount sounded hollow, even to me. I wasn't strict. I was cruel. I wasn't teaching responsibility. I was extracting payment for a debt she never owed. I wasn't protecting my family. I was protecting my favorite child at the expense of the one I'd already decided didn't matter. Brandon noticed the shift first. Megan had stopped looking at me the same way. She was polite but distant, like she was reassessing everything she thought she knew about me. Brandon started making excuses to avoid family dinners. He'd work late, have plans with friends, need to help Megan with something. 6 months after Emma left, Brandon sat me down in the living room. "Mom, I need to talk to you about something." "What is it?" He looked uncomfortable. "Megan and I have been talking. About Emma. About what happened. Emma made her choice." "Mom. Stop." He took a breath. "I've been thinking about it a lot. About how things were growing up. And I keep remembering things I didn't pay attention to at the time." "What things?" "Like how Emma always got the smaller portions at dinner. How she had to do chores I never had to do. How you'd light up when I came into a room and barely acknowledge her. How she'd cry in her room at night and you'd tell her to stop being dramatic." "Brandon." "I didn't see it because I was on the good side of it. I was the favorite. I got everything I wanted, and I never had to watch you look at me the way you looked at her." His voice cracked. "But I see it now. And I can't pretend I don't. She's poisoned you against me. She hasn't said a word to me. I figured this out on my own. And the more I think about it, the more I realize." He couldn't finish. "Realize what?" "That I don't know who you are anymore. Or maybe I never knew. He and Megan moved out the following month. They got an apartment across town. Brandon calls me once a week now, short conversations about nothing important. He comes to dinner once a month, alone. Megan always has an excuse. He's not cutting me off. But he's not close to me anymore either. He looks at me differently now. Like I'm someone he's trying to figure out. Like he's wondering if the mother who loved him so fiercely is the same person who destroyed his sister. He reached out to Emma 6 months ago. She agreed to meet him for coffee. Just him. Not me. He told me afterward that she looked good. Healthy. She'd gotten a new job, found a small apartment, started therapy. She was rebuilding her life piece by piece. She asked about you, he said. My heart jumped. What did she say? She asked if you ever talk about her. If you ever seem sorry. What did you tell her? Brandon was quiet for a long time. I told her the truth. That you mention her sometimes, but mostly to say she overreacted. That you've never once admitted you were wrong. That's not. It is, Mom. I've been waiting for you to actually apologize. Not to me. Not to Megan. To yourself. To admit what you did. And you haven't. You keep making excuses. You keep acting like Emma was the problem. I'm trying. Try harder. He left. I started therapy 2 months ago. My husband insisted. Richard had watched this whole disaster unfold, had tried to stay neutral, had finally admitted that his neutrality was its own kind of failure. I should have said something years ago, he told me. I saw how you treated her. I told myself it wasn't that bad, that all families have friction. But I was wrong. And I'm sorry. We go to couples counseling now too. We're trying to figure out if our marriage can survive what I've become. I don't know if it will. My therapist doesn't let me hide. She makes me confront every choice, every justification, every lie I told myself. Why did you sell her car? She asked me last week. Because I was angry. Why were you angry? Because she left without paying rent. Why did you demand rent she couldn't afford? Because I wanted her to. To what? I couldn't answer. Because the truth was too ugly. I wanted her to fail. I wanted her to come back broken so I could feel powerful. I wanted to prove that she needed me, even though I'd spent her whole life proving I didn't need her. You wanted control, my therapist said. You'd spent 19 years controlling her through guilt and obligation. When she tried to leave, you escalated. The rent. The car. You were punishing her for daring to escape. I cried for an hour after that session. It's been almost 2 years since Emma walked out. I've written her dozens of letters. I've never sent any of them because I don't have her address and everyone who knows it refuses to tell me. I've crafted apologies in my head, rehearsed them in the mirror, imagined how she might respond. But I know the truth. There's nothing I can say that will undo what I did. You can't apologize for 19 years of making someone feel worthless. You can't take back the moment you sold your daughter's only possession out of spite. You can't rebuild a relationship you spent 2 decades destroying. She's 21 now. Brandon showed me a photo from her birthday party. She was surrounded by friends, laughing, holding a cake someone had made for her. My sister was in the background, smiling. Emma looked happy. Genuinely, purely happy. Happier than I'd ever seen her when she lived under my roof. That photo broke me in a way I can't describe. Because I realized that my absence wasn't a tragedy in her life. It was a liberation. She wasn't surviving without me. She was thriving. I was never the mother she needed. I was the obstacle she had to overcome. Richard and I hosted Christmas this year. Just the 2 of us. Brandon came for an hour, dropped off gifts, made an excuse to leave early. He was spending the rest of the holiday with Emma and my sister. He didn't invite me. I didn't ask. I sat in my living room that night, looking at the tree we decorated, the presents nobody opened, the empty chairs where my children should have been. Both of my children are gone now. One because I pushed her away. One because he finally saw who I really am. I did this. Not Emma. Not Brandon. Not anyone else. I looked at my daughter and saw my own failures reflected back. And instead of facing those failures, I punished her for reminding me of them. I gave her room to a stranger. I made her sleep on an air mattress. I sold her car. I told her she was a mistake. And she believed me. She believed me for 19 years. If you're reading this and you recognize yourself in my words. If you have a child you've labeled the difficult one or the problem, if you've ever caught yourself treating your children differently based on circumstances they couldn't control. Stop. Stop right now. Because I told myself I was a good mother. I told myself Emma was the problem. I told myself everything I did was justified. And now I'm sitting in an empty house, listening to a 2-year-old voicemail from a daughter who will never call me again, wondering how I convinced myself that destroying her was the same as raising her. She wasn't my mistake. I was hers. And she finally had the courage to correct it. Children don't owe you love. They don't owe you gratitude. They don't owe you their presence in your life. Love is earned, every single day, through actions that prove they matter. I never proved that to Emma. I proved the opposite. And now I have the rest of my life to sit with what that cost me.